how to modify our method to run on a list to do renaming from one side to another, we talked a little bit about inherent symmetry that comes from modeling operations. So oftentimes a modeler is going to model one side, duplicate it over, and have the other side be a duplicate with the same order of that list. Okay, so we relied on that ordering of that list to do our method and operate on corresponding entries in the list, assuming that they're going to be in order like this, the same. Okay, but what if that's not the case? What if that list gets reordered? Okay, so now we've got some inconsistencies from one side to the other. Oops. So maybe we don't have the same order and we can't rely on that when we do our renaming method. So what do? So depending on the scenario, if everything is actually named the same, but they're just in different orders in this list, in that case you could use a sorting method and get your list in the same order. Okay, so we've got all the same names on this side, all the same names on this side, but they're in a different order in the list. So if I go to store these in a list variable, they're not going to be in the same order. When I pass them into my method, it's going to rename maybe this one to this one, and that's not what I want. So if I establish that, they're all the same names, but they're just in a different order in the list, well, I can use a sort to get them in the same order. So let's have a look at that. Okay, so method to sort list for renaming. So we select the source objects. Let's start with the left group. So I'll start selecting those, shift and click, and then I'll store all those in source. Okay, I can print it to check that it worked, take a look at it. Okay, then I can do the destination one, will be the right side. Select everything, run destination, print destination. Okay, so I can see, comparing these, that I've got this p-sphere 4 and this p-sphere 1. So those are not in the same order. I've got a sphere 2 and then a sphere 2 here. Sorry, sphere 1 and then sphere 2. 2 and then 3. So it's out of order. Okay, that means if I try to use my rename method the way it is, it's going to rename this to this and this to this in the order that they exist in the list. So what I want to do is get them ordered the same so I can rename from one to the other. Okay, so let's check this out. So we've got both our lists stored in these variables, source and dest. Okay, so we're going to introduce some Python methods, sort and sorted. Okay, they're two methods that sound almost the same, but they give you slightly different results. So if we have a look at the documentation, okay, sorting techniques. So this is at docs.python.org and then how to sorting. Okay, so Python lists have a built-in list.sort method that modifies the list in place. Okay, so that means it's going to change your list. So there's also a sorted built-in function that builds a new sorted list from an iterable. So for the most part, you're going to want to use sorted, not sort. And the reason is, your original list is going to disappear and be replaced by the new version when you use this one. So you'll usually want to create a new list and use sorted so that you still have the original one if you need it, and to keep it straight in your head that you've actually altered that list. Okay, so here's sorted. Okay, so sorted works like this. You say sorted and you pass in your list. Okay, this is the list itself defined here. This is the sorted result it gives. Now notice this is not going to be saved in memory unless you create a variable and set it equal to it. Okay? Then you've got the sort method, which operates on your list. So whenever you have dot and then something like this, it's a method of the thing in front of it. So it's saying the list data type itself has a method associated with it, and it is dot sort. Okay? This is a little different. This is like a method and you're passing in a list to the method. This is saying you have a list and then you have a method of the list data type, and it's a.sort is calling that method to operate on this. Okay, so you notice here that when you print out A, it's changed now. Okay, So up here, you're not actually printing out a copy of the list, you're printing out the result of sorted. Here you're printing out the original list altered. Here you're printing out a new list that was copied from the original. Okay, let's look at the example to make it more clear. Okay, so if I do this one, sort the list, modify it, avoid this, it's error prone, okay? So this is going source.sort, okay? So this is going to sort the original list and store it in this new variable. I'm actually not going to do that because I want to keep my original list how it is for now. Okay, so then I've got, this is a copy of source. Okay, so I go source.copy. So here's another Python method that copies a list. Okay, so I'm going to do source.copy. I'm going to put the copy in a new variable called copy of source, and then I'm going to print that out. So let's just do that. Okay, so I run that, and then I print out the copy. Okay, so I got my copy in there. So then I'm going to say, if I do the sort on that copy, and then I print out the copy, okay, so let's have a look at what happened. And we see the original list is in this order, psphere 4, and then the new one has got this different name in the first position. So it's reorganized this list in order based on the names. So it has numerical and alphabetical sorting, it does both. And this is the order that it came up with. Okay, so if you look at it, psphere 5, 6, 7, 8. So it seems to be going up, and that's the default behavior of that method. So let's have a look here. So why did we make the copy? So there's this concept you should be aware of an alias, okay? So when you hear the term alias, it means like another name. Okay, a writer can use an alias when they write a book. Stephen King wrote under an alias. He wrote a bunch of books under a different name because he wanted people to read them and not assume that he wrote a certain way. That could be a reason, for example, to have an alias. Okay, so that's an alias. So what does an alias mean in programming? Well, it's two names for the same thing. It's something dangerous because you might not understand that you created the alias, and you might start altering something by accident because you're referring to it by this second name. Okay, so it's another name for the same list in memory. It's dangerous because you can change a list without realizing it by referring to it by another name. Okay, alias source. So if I did this, alias of source is equal to copy of source, I've just created an alias. This will be a new name for copy of source. So now you have two names referring to the same thing. So if I do an operation on alias source, such as the sort, and I reverse that, it's going to actually operate on the original copy of source, which you might not intend, because you'll say, hey, I made this thing and set it equal to that, now I'm going to change it, and this will be the same as it was because I made a copy and I only operated on the copy. Well, you'd be wrong. This is an alias. It's the same thing as this. So anything you do to this happens to this. Okay, so if I say alias source equal copy of source, and then I do sort, and I reverse the order using reverse equal true flag, okay, and then if I were to print the two of them, they should be the same. Okay, so we see this psphere 8, psphere 8. Okay, before it started with this. So we've changed it. Now they're both like this. Okay, and that's a mistake that happens when you accidentally alias. So try to avoid aliasing. So the other method is sorted. Okay, contrasting this with the sorted method to sorted. They're two different methods. So sorted is safer. Does not operate on the list, but operates on a copy of it. So we don't have to do those steps we did up there, copying it and then operating on the copy. We can just do this, sorted on the source list. Okay, this is a method that's going to return a new list that's been sorted without affecting this. Okay, so this is the safer one. And then the new thing's going to go in here. Okay, so let's try this. Clear this output. Let's try this. Okay, so when we print the sorted source and we print the original source, we can see that they're different. So we made a new list, sorted the order of it without affecting the original one. Okay, so this is the safer way to do your sorting. So if we want to make copies of both lists and then sort them, okay, so we've already made a copy of source and sorted it and made a new variable. Let's do the same for destination. Okay, so what do you gain by that? Well, now you've put them both in the same order, assuming that their names are the same. So if we print the sorted destination list and we print the sorted source list, they should be in the same order now. Okay, so we see we got them in the same order. So now if we were to pass them in to our method, it would rename based on the order. Okay, so this method would now rename them properly because they're going to now be lined up in order like this. Okay, note this isn't going to change the order in the outliner, which is still going to be out of order like that. Okay, but in terms of our list, we're going to have proper sorted lists in the same order here. So if you pass them into the method, it would work properly now for that. So what if we want to reorder all these in the outliner? We ordered them in the list, but they're out of order in the outliner. So the way to fix that, first of all, we'll store our destination group. So again, working from L as source and R as destination, we select the group, and then we run this list command, store the return in our destination group variable. We're going to make an empty list called each W. Then we're going to iterate over this command here, which is using cmds.parent, so the parent command, and we're parenting under world, which basically means we're doing what happens when you click on this and hit Shift P and it leaves the group. Okay, you can see parent-w. Okay, so that's parent to world space. Okay, so let's put that back in there, just undoing. And then if we do this, removing it from the group, it gives it back the name in a list, which we don't want, so we index at 0 to get it out. Then we're going to use the Python method append. We're going to stick that long name into this group. And the reason is, once you take this out of that group, it's going to have a different name. So if I shift P again, you'll see that the name's changed. You got rsphere group, and then you just have the group. Okay? So we're going to store the new name that it gets when it goes to the world in this list, and then we're going to index over that list to put it all back. And we're going to put it all back in the order based on our list by incrementing and iterating over our list. So let's just do that. Let's take it all out. Okay, you can see that they're all outside the group now. And then I'm going to run this loop, which is going to parent them back in. So notice it's going parent this under this. Each is taking on the value of each entry in our list, which is each W. Each W is the empty list we made here and then populated using append. Okay, so that list is full of the long names of all these things as they exist in the world. Cool, so if we iterate over the list of all this, we can put it all back in the group. Okay, so just make sure I don't have anything selected, just in case. And then I'm going to go run this loop and put everything back in the group in the order that they appear in the list. Because remember, this is our sorted list, and it just is going to go through it in order and get it, every entry in there stored in each, and then use the each here to parent it back in. So let's see what happens. Okay, so I get something like this. Okay, they're back in this kind of order based on the sorting. And then I'm going to go do it to the source list, which is the left side. So I get this line, which is going to store the group of the source list. So I'm going to go here, select that group of the source list. Then I'm going to select this line, hit enter on the number pad, enter. Okay, that stored the name of that group there, so we can use it to parent back under. And then I'm going to do the same thing here as before, but now for the other group and other list of stuff. Alright, let's have a look. So yeah, we got the same order here for these two things. So now they're in order in our list to use for our method, and they're also in order in the outliner. So in this video you learned about sorted and the sort approaches. So there's two, sorted and sort. You learned about aliasing and making copies of lists, and you learned how to organize things to get two congruent lists.